Here we are, day 3 of the Karen Reed trial. What have we learned so far?
There's the vehicle right there, and the females are right there.
How soon was it when you pulled in there that you saw John's body?
Immediately.
There are actually 3 women on scene that morning, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Did you see any blood on Ms. Roberts' face or hair?
No.
Was she screaming and yelling things and moving around the scene?
No.
There was one individual that replied several times, "I hit him, I hit him."
Is that something that she said once or more than once or something?
It was several times.
You were a part-time officer at that point?
No, it was full-time.
Everybody appeared to be quite flustered.
She was screaming, is that my boyfriend? Is he dead?
That whole group was kind of pacing around, for lack of a better term, kind of running around in circles.
They were going back and forth between the body and the side of the street, back and forth.
The individual that said, I hit him," appeared to have some blood on her face, presumably for attempting CPR prior to our arrival.
I tried to save his life.
Mr. O'Keefe was not being touched by any individual when I first got to him.
I tried to save his life at 6 in the morning. I was covered in his blood. I was the only one trying to save his life.
There was no interventions being done, Mr. O'Keefe, when I got to him.
Did any of the neighbors or anybody else come outside at any point in time?
I did not.
Couldn't tell you the number of articles of clothing, but I believe a winter jacket and a sweatshirt.
Like water, kind of like frozen on kind of to his face.
You didn't say that there were abrasions.
Scratches and abrasions, in my point of view, seem to go hand in hand.
At that point, approximately 6 inches.
The word that you used was scratches.
Yes, they were like furrows. Down.
Say that again?
Furrows, if you will, for lack of a better term.
I don't mean to be a wise guy, sir, but did any of the other neighbors on the entire street have the body of a dead police officer on their front lawn?
Objection, Your Honor.
All right, so that's sustained. All right. You are all set, sir.
Did I incapacitate him unwittingly, somehow, and then in his drunkenness, passed out? I said I hit him. It was preceded by a did and proceeded by a question mark.
Very, very hard to hear. Have you listened to that before?
No.
Does it appear to you that she said, "My boyfriend, I left him and he never came home"?
I couldn't understand anything.
Okay.
So day 1 we saw Aaron and Paul O'Keefe, who testified about speaking to Karen that morning and events that transpired that morning. The biggest takeaways there are that she told Aaron O'Keefe that she has to remember the bad times, and that she said, even though they were friends, she said, "I don't think I'll ever talk to you again. I don't think I'll ever see you guys again." And Aaron O'Keefe was like, "What do you mean? We're friends." And none of them ever heard from him again. None of their mutual friends, the kids, it's consciousness of guilt, much. A bunch of people heard her say, "I hit him, it was my fault." As we get into the statements, Officer Saraff is saying that she said, "It's my fault, I did this," something to that effect. But he didn't put it in his report. Seems odd. Seems like in the drama of when he first arrived, before ambulance and the firefighters got there, that's when she was saying things, that's when he was hearing those things. And he was trying to cure and organize and whatever with the situation. And then when he got to the part where he was going to try to take statements from people, he couldn't get a train of thought out of her. He couldn't get words out of her. But the thing is, that report was so short, there should have been statements from Harry, Jen, and Karen. They should have been able to get some statements from them. I don't know if there was multiple different reports. It just seems like there's a dead guy on the lawn. There should be more questions being asked, right? It's strange. What are those cops doing? Mulaney, the redheaded cop, he was just oblivious and not observant at all. It's almost like they're just agitating all day. And when you talk to them, they have a response, but they're not paying attention. The younger generation is like that. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because they're younger. Maybe I was like that when I was younger. I don't know, but he just was not paying attention to anything. He didn't even see blood on Karen's face. Everyone else saw blood on Karen's face. But the thing is too, they didn't know what they were looking for. They found the cocktail glass and they only had a snow blower, so they were only blowing off the top layer of snow. Nobody was digging yet until the CERT team arrived. That's why they didn't find the taillight. But they also didn't know they were looking for a taillight. And they found the sneaker and the hat. But that's because they weren't going through the snow. They were blowing off the top layer of snow. Even though he was laying there since the night before, when it first started snowing, they said he had water frozen on his face. And it seemed like, I saw one picture where you could see the ground beneath him, or it looked like a pool of blood. But then the picture that they showed yesterday to the firefighter, they were like, is this where his body was? And he was like, yes. And it looked like it was all snow, but it was also daylight. So a lot of snow was falling at that time. So what a nightmare of a crime scene in a blizzard like that, where the snow is coming down, hiding all the evidence. So Officer Saraff, credible? I'm not sure. I feel like he could be telling the truth. If I was a juror, I would need more than him. I don't know if she said it's my fault. Maybe she did. If I heard other people heard that as well, then I would believe him, but why wouldn't you write something that important in the report? It is strange. And then we had Karen Reed's lawyers pointing out, look at Jen McCabe sneaking inside the house. It's kind of shocking to me how much they're vilifying this woman, because I know that her lawyers know that the Google search didn't happen in the middle of the night. I know they know that Karen Reed is guilty. The people that are putting it out there about the Google search, there's no way that anyone can know. So you can have an expert talk about the Google search like Brandy Churchwell and whatever, they can talk about it, but unless they did that testing with that specific version and iOS, there's no way they can just make a blanket statement and be like, that's how the software works, and that's how programming works, and that's it, done a story. Because no, every single version of every software has problems and issues. If you literally don't take that version and test with it and try to recreate the mistake that we're seeing, there's no way that they can know. So they're hard to like take an expert's word who didn't do the testing and say, oh, we know that it happened, it's a fact. That's dishonest and you're ruining your credibility. And I think that she does a good job for the most part. We don't know that she was home at 12:41. I've always thought it was a lie because we first heard it from Turtle Boy saying that they had ring cam that she was home at 12:41. No, that was deleted. Then we heard it from Yannetti saying there was a voicemail that was left at 12:41. They could hear the garage door and her heels walking on the floor, which is strange because 12:41, that's much earlier than we would think. And that's why they're also saying, we know that she went by the library at that time. So I think that's just a lie. I think that both of those things are a lie. And it's gonna come out. I can't wait to see. We don't know which way she went. We don't know if she pulled over somewhere to look at her damaged car. So that's something we're gonna see. 12:41, I think it was always a lie because now the Commonwealth is saying the key cycles show at 12:45 or 12:46 that she was speeding in reverse 24 miles an hour for like 60 feet. And people on X are all like, oh, whoa, she must be a stunt driver. First of all, she was drunk and she just floored it. She wasn't steering. She just probably got pissed off and backed into him. It's so obvious what happened here. The only question that I have is like, should this be manslaughter or murder? That's the only thing that I'm questioning at this point. I'll look at the evidence. I know that those aren't dog bites. I know the Google search didn't happen. I believe the firefighter that said, you know, she said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. The questions there are the winter jacket. I don't think he had a winter jacket. I don't think so because Karen said in an interview he had no coat on. And they did all the testing on his sweatshirt. So they didn't say anything about a jacket. They would be testing the most outer layer for things, right? So unless the jacket just disappeared. But I just don't think he had a jacket. So I think that firefighter is wrong, but I don't think it ruins his credibility. These people have tunnel vision, especially when it's freezing cold out. I worked in one of those little Dunkin' Donuts friggin' drive-through things in the winter one year. Well, not even for a year, for a month, not even a month, probably a couple weeks. It was freaking horrible because of how freaking cold it was. And so being in that freezing cold and pain, and you are just trying to rush through things. And so people get tunnel vision. So the first responders are like, let's get him in the ambulance. Let's get him warmed up. Same thing with the cops, all of them. They're just trying to get it over with. It was windy and it was freezing cold. So people are trying to get through whatever they have to get to the warmth. And so I don't think he had a winter jacket on. I think he's mistaken about that, but I don't think he's gonna make up saying, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. She definitely said it. She's even on the interview saying, oh, preceded by a did and followed by a question mark. No, she was saying a lot of stuff. She knew what was going on. Her family's not testifying because she probably said it to them too. I think people just weren't taking her seriously because she was screaming and hysterical and just saying a bunch of dumb stuff. So I don't think that the firefighter not writing it in his report, I just think he probably thought, because in his mind, he's just trying to find out what's wrong with this guy, right? So she answers, I hit him. He's just trying to treat the patient, stabilize him, and get him to the hospital. Him not putting it in his report, I feel like that's understandable because that's not his job, and there was law enforcement around. He probably thought other people heard. He probably just didn't even think anything of it. That's not what his focus was. His focus was stabilizing the patient. I believe him, and then the other firefighter that was on, I don't know if there was any good testimony that came from him that I can remember. He didn't testify for too long. They're probably going to continue with him tomorrow. I just think that it's so sick that people are going after Jen McCabe for everything when it's clear as day that she didn't know what was going on, was trying to get things under control, was trying to get help for John O'Keefe, was trying to call the police, and Karen's just screaming and wailing and running around like a freaking rabid chimpanzee with blood on her face. And the two girls are just trying to keep it together. And so when they slowed the video and it was like, did Jen McCabe go inside the house? They're just trying to put the suspicious stuff in there. I don't know if she went in the house. John has already been taken away in an ambulance. So there's still cops there looking for evidence. But whether she went in and woke them up or not, it's not like she's sneaking away. There's so many things that are just so untruthful from the Karen Reed camp that we're claiming to be false. So the 911 call recording we heard, and everyone was like, oh, that's Jen McCabe inside the house whispering to her sister. But you can hear the windshield wipers. It's definitely not inside the house. The way that the defense is trying to turn Jen McCabe into a villain, it's really gross. It's so trashy. Because Kerry Roberts was there the whole time too. And notice anytime they're saying anything, it's all like, oh, Jen McCabe's the orchestrator. But Kerry Roberts is his lifelong friend that he went to homecoming dance with when he was a kid. They grew up together. Kerry Roberts is telling the truth. There's all these witnesses don't have any reason to be lying. Karen Reed has a lot of reasons to lie, and she has already lied several times. People challenging the firefighter, saying, I hit him. We know there's another firefighter. I didn't even know about this guy, Timothy Nutall. I didn't even know about him. I knew about the Katie McLaughlin one saying, I actually heard him say, I hit him. Only because Turtle Boy is saying, oh, she's friends with the Alberts. So we know there's multiple people that heard the same thing. So it's so ridiculous. I think the defense is doing a good job calling out whatever they can. Well, the timestamps from your dispatch were wrong and that kind of thing. Oh, you didn't put that in your report? Yeah, I think that's valid. He's a lazy cop. Got him. Still not a cover-up. If it was a cover-up, all of these people would have their stories straight, right? And you can tell that they're telling the truth because that one thought he had a winter jacket on. It's dark out, it's freezing, it's a blizzard. They're just trying to get the guy stabilized, trying to save his life. Karen screaming, jumping all over them, being crazy. And we know that Carrie's testimony and the niece's testimony is that Karen was acting like that way before the body was found. I don't think anyone's saying that she did it on purpose, that she killed him on purpose, ever. And so the call logs, I think, are going to be pretty telling. I really want to see Karen Reed's call log. That's been the hidden piece all along. So when did she first call and leave that voicemail, or leave that nasty voicemail where she's swearing? And because he didn't get that many phone calls. He got a few at night, and there might have been a ton of text messages. And then he started getting a barrage of phone calls in the morning from Karen Reed. Well, we don't even know. Most likely from Karen Reed, though. So that's my main question is, when did she leave the first voicemail? When did she text him anything? When did she leave the first voicemail? Because to me, the voicemail most likely was left while she was driving. So day 3, I don't know who else is on the witness list for day 3, but I think we're gonna hear from more first responders and hopefully get closer to solving this mystery. And by mystery, I mean why they charged her with murder 2 over manslaughter. That's my biggest question. All they need to show is malice when it happened. I think the defense is barking up the wrong tree. I don't even know how many more witnesses that are gonna say that she said something to the effect of I hit him, or it's my fault, or whatever. And then it turns out she has a broken taillight. That taillight didn't magically fall apart on its own. It didn't break when she backed into that car. We saw them shoveling the driveway the next morning. So the taillight broke there next to John O'Keefe. I don't know. A3, the circus continues.
So I pull at the foot of the driveway. It's snowing. John has no coat on. It's windy. So I drop him off. He goes up the driveway and approaches the side door. And as I see him approach the door, I hit him. It was preceded by a did and proceeded by a question mark. The driveway and approaches the side door. And as I see him approach the door, could have happened was that did I incapacitate him unwittingly, somehow, and then in his drunkenness, passed out?
He said, Dad, I think I struck something. I said, what do you mean struck something? Right, this was in the hospital, right? He says, I remember, all right, backing up and hitting something.
Karen says they pulled up to the house and she waited in her SUV while John went to check things out. She says she watched him go to the door, put his head inside, then nothing.
I texted him, I called him, and within minutes of him exiting my car is not answering his phone. Minutes. So
What happens next?
I left.
Did I kill him?
I said, could I have hit him? The driveway and approaches the side door. And as I see him approach the door, I said, could I have hit him? And then